Welcome again to the Astro Read. For this episode, I guess we should introduce ourselves. I feel like we forgot to. Hi, I'm Nayeli from Astronatic.
Hi, I'm Clary. In the video, I always put our names at the bottom. So,
Yeah.
I'm Stella. I'm Stella from Star Astrology.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about us, definitely check out the first episode of the Astro Read, because that's when we really get more in depth as to what we do, who we are, and all of that. But for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the woman of the moment, in my opinion, in lots of people's opinions, and that is Adele. Adele, this episode will be all about her and why this is her moment. And the first fun fact is that Adele's album, 30, highly anticipated. It's been like years since she's come out with an album. It's going to be released on November 19th, 2021, which happens to be the lunar eclipse and the first eclipse of the Taurus Scorpio series of eclipses that will be starting this year for about like the next year and a half or so. So Adele knows what she's doing. She has, as Stella told me before, she has an astrologer on staff. Like, she's on point. She's got it together.
For sure. I mean, you can just tell, like, releasing an album on an eclipse, like the fact that she names all of her albums after a number. I mean, it's big numerology wise. The fact that she you think you said she mentioned that it was after her
Saturn Return. Yeah.
Saturn Return, that 30 is the best year because it's after your Saturn Return. Like, she's right. 30 was a great year. I think I got married when I was 30, right? Yeah. I think, or was I 31? I can't remember.
It's all the same, 30, 31. Yeah, I feel like 30 is a good decade. I'm in my 30s, and yeah, when you turn 30, as are you, and when you turn 30, it's like you stop caring as much about what other people think. And I think it takes until, I think Adele's 33 now, so I feel like she's probably really over other people's like BS, I think you start getting over other people's opinions and become more of who you are when you turn 30, like the journey starts. But it takes like a good 2 to 3 years to like really get it. And so I think Adele, with her being 33, having gone through all these experiences, she's in this new era, this new confident era. And she's just making no apologies. Like, she is who she is, and she is where she is now. And she's had to make certain decisions in her life that may have been challenging, like her divorce, having to navigate motherhood with that. And she did it for her happiness. So she had to choose her happiness over maybe what might have made her husband at the time or her child happy in that moment, and chose a decision that reflected overall happiness for everybody down the road. And that can be a really hard decision to make. I'll show Adele's chart. I might flip back and forth between two different charts because I like to use the Placidus and Koch house system, or I just might stay showing one chart, for easier purposes, but we can refer to this on screen. So this is Adele's chart, and hopefully it's showing. So this is Adele's chart. What you may notice from her chart is that her planets, disregard all of this. Oh, let me do the pointer thing. The spotlight. Love that spotlight. Disregard these things because these are not, well, there's Mars here. Okay, so you've got Mars as the only exception, but all her other planets are opposing each other. So she's got some planets here on one side, she's got some planets there on the other side. That's what's known as a seesaw configuration. Some people may not even consider it a seesaw configuration because she's got her Mars, which is this circle with an arrow just hanging out there. But with people with seesaw configurations, they kind of have these like opposing like viewpoints and aspects to their personality that they have to balance. So it's interesting that, the planets, half of them fall in the 11th and 12th houses, according to this the Koch chart, and the other planets on the other side fall within the 7th, 6th, 5th. So that could mean that, there's, like balancing act she has to do with 11th house matters, like who she uniquely is, what her goals are, her subconscious, what she really wants to do. Those are possible interpretations. And then balancing that with what's expected of her by others, whether it's in relationships represented by the 7th house, her job, the 6th house, or her children, or in this case, her child, since she only has one child at this point, in the 5th house. So I think her life will continue to be this push and pull of like, what does she want subconsciously? What does she truly want? What is her identity telling her to do? And what is expected of her by the people that she cares about in her life? And then the tiebreaker is her Mars here in the middle, which is in the 9th house, and it's in Aquarius. So very interesting combo. 9th house is all about like learning, expanding horizons, different cultures. And then Aquarius is a sign that's all about being unconventional, but also humanitarian, caring for everybody. So I think, throughout her life, and not just now, but, perhaps for the rest of her life, she will feel that tug and pull as to, does she do what others expect of her, or does she follow her own inclinations? But like the tiebreaker at the end that's going to tell her which direction to go in at certain points of her life will be what's going to provide her the greatest growth. And Adele has mentioned in, recent interviews, the challenge with getting the divorce and how she felt bad, about her son and how he might experience that. And her son telling her, why don't you love my dad anymore? And just like that guilt that you feel as a parent, and also as a spouse when you're ending something. And, in her song, Easy on Me, it's pretty much her explaining why she had to make this decision, like why she had to choose herself. And that's, who knows what the rest of the album 30 will be like, but I'm sure a big theme will be this push-pull that's in her chart that she may or may not know of from her astrologer that she probably has, this push and pull of like choosing herself, but also taking into account what other people expect of her. So Stella, any thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on Adele and what she goes through?
Girl,
I want to hear it all. I want to hear your insights.
I'm sitting here and I'm a big Adele fan. Okay, guys, I'm a huge Adele fan.
Same.
I love Adele. I am like karaoke queen Adele. Like that's where I go to karaoke just to sing Adele songs. But I was sitting here and I started thinking about her lyrics and her really strong 12th house. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden something clicked because I'm sitting here, hello, the song Hello.
Yeah.
Hello from the outside. Mercury in the 12th house, the house of endings.
Yeah.
Like I just got chills. And then the song, I believe, Say Hello to Your New Lover, another song about communication. Most of her songs involve communication. Strong Gemini. And so say, let go of our ghosts. And I thought of that lyric and I was like, she's got Chiron in the 12th house.
Yeah.
What more of a let go of your ghosts sign is that? So lyrics intimately involved in the astrology. I got chills thinking about it right here because I was sitting there, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, no way. And it's just fun to think about that. And so, astrology and the music, I love music astrology. I'm sitting here with my Bible on music astrology. I don't know if you guys can see it. The book of horoscopes, of music horoscopes. And I am pretty much obsessed with music astrology. And I really look at the trends, the patterns, what music will be popular in the upcoming months, what conversations will be happening within the music and things like that. And right now I'm really seeing that her album is going to centralize, of course, around her Saturn return, which is literally like it just ended. She's now with Saturn in the 8th house in whole signs. But Saturn and Uranus are conjunct in her 7th house in whole signs. And that transit in and of itself, and the fact that it's retrograde is just, it's pretty ridiculous. It's a very, very, very strong aspect. And anytime, like right now, Saturn and Uranus are square, anytime those two planets have a conversation going on in the sky, a person like Adele who has this aspect is going to get hit even harder. And so as Saturn was transiting that house, she might have had some realizations about her relationship. She might have had realizations about herself. As it transitioned into Aquarius at the end of last year, that might have been the moment where she needed to just cut it off. Maybe that was the moment where she had come to the end point. I don't actually have the dates of when her divorce was finalized or anything like that, but I'm just assuming that in terms of the litigiousness, since it does represent the 8th house, where Saturn is in her chart and whole signs, she's going to have a tumultuous, sort of hard time trying to break up that relationship. Not because necessarily of the difficulty or the, anger between the partnerships, but just in terms of what it means for her life. It's a very defining moment for her in her life. And that's why I think 30 is going to be such a personal album. And I'm really excited to listen to it, because we're going to get a window into someone's soul. And she is, her 12th house being so strong, she's always kind of given us a peek, given us some more information. And of course, Pluto being in Scorpio, it's someone who is always dealing with those power dynamics in their relationship, and showing how it sort of materializes is just fascinating. And she's putting it in song. So it's like bombs going off over here. Like, this is incredible. So it's going to be a really great album. And for those of us who are aware of Saturn returns, of course, when Saturn goes back to its position where it was in your natal chart when you were born, for those of us who are aware of how we experienced it, I had a really rough time. It was not easy. Lost my job, had a total transformation of my belief systems, like uprooted myself, finally figured out how to master it and created a relationship that is strong now, and got married by the end of the Saturn transit in Capricorn. I mean, like, I did the full 180 with this transit. So I know what it is to go through one. And so she's going to give us a peek, maybe on an astrological level, of what it's like to go through this transit and give words to this experience. A lot of music sort of transcends the level of surface that we go through, and Adele seems to be one of those artists, along with a few. There aren't many right now, because everybody's talking about probably the same 5 themes, whether it's sexual escapades, females, body image, conversations around male and men and women and what they're going through. She's out here giving us depth to those conversations. And I'm so grateful for that, because although we don't have any heroes of song that are talking about how we should revolt and things like that, like the 60s, like, we have at least some music that gives us purpose, gives us soul, gives a voice to the experiences of this time period, and I think she's going to encapsulate sort of that pandemic relationship that everybody went through. And it's like my husband says, like, we're married for 2 years, but we've really been married for 5, because the pandemic counts as 3 years.
Yeah. And I mean, so many people have broken up, gotten together, like so many shifts have happened during the pandemic, and especially on a relational level. And it's interesting, Adele's Pluto, according to the Koch and Placidus house system, is in her 5th house. So she might have power dynamics when it comes to love, children, all those things. And yeah, I'm a big Adele fan. I think a lot of people are. There's just something about her that's very universal. She's so relatable, and she writes her songs like they're so real to her life. Each of her albums are, like autobiographies of what she went through at that specific age. And there's just something that's really, really genuine about her voice and about what she writes about, and people can understand it and have probably gone through similar things. And she's, going through, sharing her story, and whether she knows it or not, it's helping other people and just resonating with other people. I also don't think it's any accident that her new album, the start of her new era, is starting right at the start of these Taurus Scorpio eclipses that are going to be affecting us all starting November 19th, 2021. And we are just starting to get out of the latest series of eclipses that have been happening since 2020. which are the Sagittarius Gemini eclipses, which if you want to learn more about these two eclipses, definitely listen to our episode Energy of the Fall, which really outlines this transition from the Sag Gemini eclipses to the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. I believe the eclipse series we're in with Sagittarius Gemini and the one we're going to head into with Taurus Scorpio will affect Adele on a huge level. And she probably knows it. Like during the Sagittarius Gemini eclipses, that's probably when she was starting to make her decisions as to, can she stay in this marriage, or what does the next era of her life look like? And, you know, she was working on her, you know, health as far as weight is concerned, and just kind of getting out there more, and hanging out with Drake and hanging out with all these different people. And now she's kind of entering this next phase with the Taurus Scorpio eclipses coming, and it'll be interesting to see what that's all about. I'm going to show the Adele's chart to give an idea of why these eclipses have been affecting her, will be affecting her. So this is Adele's chart. She was born May 5th, 1988, 8:19 a.m., Tottenham, England. So one of the interesting things with Adele's chart is that she has intercepted houses. So what is an intercepted house? An intercepted house and sign, it's pretty much when a sign is fully contained in a house. So I'm going to do the little highlights that I love so much. Okay, so you'll see that, you know, there's different signs, the 12 signs, they go all throughout the chart. There's Cancer, there's Leo, so on and so forth. And each sign will have more than one house, or pizza slice, as I like to call it, of the chart that's running through it. But in this chart, which is the Placidus house system, Gemini is completely within a slice. Sagittarius completely within a slice. And these houses or slices are the 6th house and the 12th house. So with being blocked in these areas, so that's the thing with intercepted houses. When people have intercepted houses, the characteristics that are represented by the sign, the house, and the planets impacted feel restricted because they're basically kind of just like contained, right? So according to the Koch house system, it involves the 6th and 12th houses, Gemini, Sagittarius. And it includes quite a bit of planets. It includes her Mercury, which is all about communication, right? So she's strong at communicating. You know, she's a great songwriter. She has a way with words. She's very like, I like to say sassy. You know, she definitely has a way with the way she talks. And, you know, she has her Venus here. She has her Chiron, so her internal emotional wounds. All those are like kind of restricted, right? For like the longest time they've been. And she's had to find ways to like kind of unrestrict herself from them. And maybe these Sagittarius Gemini eclipses that have been happening since 2020 have catapulted her into being able to do that. Then you've got her 6th house, has her moon, has her Uranus, has her Saturn. So much has been contained in these intercepted houses, according to Koch, right? She's got her Saturn there, and she just finished getting over her Saturn return. She's like in the aftermath of that. So probably things that were so restricted for her, and as far as lessons she had to learn or certain areas of maturity that she had to reach, probably were just like forced to come out in the open. She's probably still dealing with it. And then her Chiron, which is this little K here, it's in Gemini in the 12th house. Not an easy placement for a Chiron. You know, Chiron in Gemini, that's going to impact somebody's ability to be able to communicate what they really think, being able to trust their own thought process. And then with it being in the 12th house, that definitely, like most likely affects the subconscious. The 12th house represents things that are hidden, right? So perhaps there was buried things that Adele had within herself and her subconscious that were just so repressed that she's finally now starting to uncover, and probably was starting to uncover during the Sagittarius Gemini eclipses that were happening. And Adele has mentioned in a recent interview that she started going to therapy to really uncover what were her tendencies in relationships, instead of thinking, oh, it's the guy's fault, like it's their problem, you know, it's not about me. Started to uncover more about herself. And then also with the 6th and 12th houses being impacted with these Sagittarius Gemini eclipses, they're affecting the opposite ends of her seesaw. So that whole dichotomy of like, do I follow my own inclinations and my sense of self, or do I go along with what others in my life expect of me? That was being really highlighted during these Sagittarius Gemini eclipses. And those areas of her life will continue to be affected during the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. So now I'll show another version of her chart. So did the chart change, or does it still look the same? Because I changed tabs. I don't know what that does for the chart. So I'll stop. It changed. It changed. Okay, that's good to know that it changes it. Okay, so I'm going to share this. So this is Adele's chart in the Koch house system. So in the Koch house system, I'm going to get the little light, the little spotlight. That's so helpful. Okay, so in the Koch house system, her Scorpio, which is in her 5th house, is intercepted, and that contains her Pluto. So all about like sense of control, transformation, all of that. And then her 11th house, which has Taurus on it, is also intercepted. And that includes her Jupiter, so her sense of expansion, her sun, her sense of self and her public persona, her Juno, so representing, what type of long-term relationship is the best fit for her, and her Mercury, her communication. So these eclipses, might open up these pent-up energies she might have been having in regards to being able to be in a long-term successful romantic relationship, her sense of expansion, her the way that she communicates and thinks, her transformation. Like she's, people think, okay, she's gone through this transformation, she looks different, she lost some weight, her personality seems different in my opinion. I feel like she's coming more into her own, but this is just the beginning. Like it'll be interesting to see how Adele evolves as these Taurus Scorpio eclipses continue to happen. So it's starting with the first one, November 19th, 2021. And the last one of the series will be on October 28th, 2023. And that will be a lunar eclipse in Taurus. And it'll be affecting her 11th house of wishes, maybe social media, how she comes across in the media.
Friendships as well. And her sun, affecting her sun and her Jupiter, giving her luck.
Yeah.
Especially this album. I think that she's starting it on this eclipse is such a lucky way to symbolize like where you see this album going. I think it might be probably one of her most successful albums. I mean, from the reception of the first song, and the fact that it has to do with what she's explaining to her child. So themes of children in this conversation that she's having. She's no longer talking to her lover. Remember, like the last album was about her lover. Now it's about her children. It's about being a mother. It's about transitioning from childhood into womanhood, into the evolution of, how do you keep the friendships that you had? How do you keep the connections that you had? And a lot of the themes of maybe the new Aquarian age, where we're not going to be focusing on relationships of romantic level, we're going to be focusing on our friendships, we're going to be focusing on our families and who we choose as friends, etc. And how we've evolved as, human beings. And it's just telling that she would, trust the universe so much because she's waited so long. You know what I'm saying? Like, and why has she waited so long? That's why, like, honestly, I'm so convinced she has an astrologer. I'm sure she was like, so when's my next album coming out? It all. Like,
an astrologer was like November 19th, 2021.
Like, Adele, confirm or deny. Let us know. We're so excited. Well, and I forgot the disclaimer. We have nothing to do with Adele.
We always forget this.
We're not connected in any way. We're just doing this for entertainment purposes only. But disclaimer out, it's very fun to also see and analyze her love life because again, like she's got her like I keep going back to Mercury. Mercury is very strong in her chart. It's in
Yeah.
its own sign. But the Mercury in Gemini in particular lends to a very brash sort of speaker,
Yeah.
someone who cuts to the point.
Yeah.
And then her Venus in the same sign as well lends to someone who needs a certain level of intelligence
Yeah.
to receive that from their partners. They need someone who can hold their own, you know, and being that she's also got her Black Moon Lilith in Leo, that also lends to another type of person who is more brash in their style. They're very prideful. They may be self-focused in their relationships. And it would be a good idea, absolutely, to go get therapy because, you know, you could honestly be self-sabotaging your relationships. And from the standpoint of your self-worth, you know, because the Black Moon Lilith is in the second house, and the house of self-worth, and the house of, you know, wealth, it might be that your expectation of the person that you're with is either too high, or maybe you're being too upfront about the emotions that you're having, and you're not really able to filter. You know, there's got to be some sort of love filter, because if I told my husband every single thing that I felt about him at every single moment, they might not feel as good. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying hold back or hide things from people, but your emotions in the split moment of the things that you can't take back, those could determine the future of your relationship. And I think it was a study done a while ago that basically said, you know, analyze couples over a 20-year period, and really showed that the people that stay together are not the ones that treat themselves the best, but the ones that treat themselves, the ones who don't cut each other down the most. So you don't have to be perfect to be in a good relationship. You just have to know that every single emotion you feel, every single problem that comes up, every single issue is not worth the fight. You know, choose your battles, so to speak. And with someone with Black Moon Lilith in the second house, it might be more difficult to choose which battles, because there might be more self-focus as opposed to focus on the actual situation that they're in, or how to resolve the problem. And then, of course, you have a strong Gemini, you're really focused on getting things done quickly. You know, Gemini's about a quick turnaround. Gemini's about getting things done in the most brash way possible, in a more, you know, self-focused way, like I can do everything myself. But in a relationship, you have to lend to understanding that your partner can also help you solve problems. So, like, you know, that access to the seventh house, where Uranus and Saturn are conjunct in there, Neptune is also right beside them. So in the seventh house, you have a triple threat of the planet of illusion, the planet of lessons, and the planet of chaos, all wreaking havoc on your love life. So, of course, once you start working on yourself to control your emotions, to be able to communicate, you know, in a way that's productive, you could really master the relationships that you're in. But I would say that a big part of the issues that she might have been having are that she is also a part of the greater problems that she might be having. And she's only just now realizing, I need to improve myself so I can have a better, sort of well-being within my relationships. You know, a lot of people look at maybe a chart that doesn't have as many planets in the first house and say, oh, you know, there's nothing focusing on the first house. There's a lot of things going on in the first house. You know what I mean? You might not be willing to pay attention to it, but opposite the first house is the seventh. The seventh heavy with very chaotic planets in retrograde. Then you have the moon in the sixth house. So you're filtering your emotions through a fire sign with a very brash speech and a very strong Lilith in a fire sign. So, you know, fire sign, air, what do you create? You create a lot of issues within your relationship. You create a lot of, you know, and then you take it very seriously, because all of your love seventh house is in a very serious, stable sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn wants things seriously. Capricorn wants to work on things. Capricorn wants to make things really solid. So, you know, you add all of those things together, and it becomes very probably difficult to deal with this type of person, to communicate with them. There might be a lot of breaks in communication, or you might attract someone who will break down communication, who won't be able to give the communication style that you're needing, who will be a lot more controlling. Look at this, the Pluto in the 5th house. Your lover will be a lot more controlling than, you know, you're even willing to admit to yourself. And it might not be the healthiest relationship for you to stay in. So yeah, sometimes you need to choose you. And I am so grateful that she did, and that she's going to write an album about, you know, setting aside those emotions of guilt and you know, whatever other issues come up when you're breaking up, so that you can be able to give your best self to your relationships.
You know, one thing I noticed about her chart is that she has 4 retrograde planets. So she has Saturn retrograde, Uranus retrograde, Neptune retrograde, and Pluto retrograde. So it's quite a lot of retrograde planets. It's not the majority of planets, but you know, you know, it has an impact nonetheless.
It's enough. It's enough. Okay.
It's enough. 4 is enough. So that's a good point. So with Saturn being retrograde, you know, she's probably very hard on herself and potentially very hard on others. With Uranus retrograde, you know, she might feel restricted in a certain way. Like she might have a hard time just being her own unique self. And depending on the chart used, Uranus is also in one of her intercepted houses based on the Placidus house system. So she's feeling like when it comes to showing her unique self, feeling one with others, or more so being her unique self and being innovative, and just being true to herself. Like she might have a hard time doing that. Like she might be more unique than maybe she comes across. I would say maybe that could be a possibility. With Neptune retrograde, you know, some people with Neptune retrograde might turn to substances to feel that state of like being one with the universe. I don't know. She doesn't seem like a drug taker to me, but you never know. But also people with Neptune retrograde have a hard time showing off their creativity and things like that. But I mean, I guess she's been able to do so regardless, but it's really because of her great writing style and the fact that she has, you know, a beautiful voice that allows her to do this. And with Pluto retrograde, that's a tough retrograde to deal with. It can give her psychological insight into herself, and maybe her Pluto retrograde maybe is what has gotten her to take the initiative to do therapy and find out more about herself that she might have already been discovering already on her own. But with Pluto retrograde, you know, it also gives tendencies that could lead you to therapy, like, you know, having volatile emotions, like having a hard time with transformation, all of that. So she's got a lot of like, you know, interesting retrogrades that, you know, could give her personality traits that might need to be managed or really looked at. And then in regards to her elements, her weakest ones are water and fire. So with water, there only being one planet in water, it's one of her weakest elements, and so that might not make her the most sensitive. Stella, what are your thoughts?
Say that because I literally set fire to the rain.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, okay. I didn't even, okay. And water and fire, water and fire are her weakest elements. It's like maybe it's being
the song about how she wants to set fire to the rain and watch it burn as it touch your face. I'm not singing the lyrics. I don't want to pay anybody else.
No, but that's so true. Maybe that's her realizing like, screw my emotions and screw me taking initiative, like set fire to the rain. Like,
wow.
Who can do that, Adele?
And I'm sitting here, and what I thought set fire to the rain, because she's got Pluto in a water sign, square Mars in an air sign, and obviously, you know, Mars being the planet of fire and hellstorm in an air sign, so it's being whisked up by air and controlled by air, and then it's square, a water sign about control. So, you know, take back control of my relationship, set fire to the rain. I'm sitting here and I love music astrology, so I'm obsessing. This is great. We can talk about this all day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's so cool that that's one of your areas of focus in astrology, the music astrology, because I'll be honest, I'm not really knowledgeable in that area like you are. So that's really interesting. So yeah, that's, you know, two of her weakest she's strong in earth and air, so she's likely an ideas person, but very more so like with earth being her strongest element with 5 planets in earth signs. She is probably very set in her ways, like kind of stubborn, but also very grounded, very stable. As far as what she needs in her life, she needs those like creature comforts. And I've been reading some articles where they say that over the years in her videos, the houses that she's in have become more and more developed. So with her latest one, Easy on Me, her being in, all of a sudden from black and white to color, which she rarely ever does in her videos. And the house is like fully furnished. So having like a home, like stability, that's probably very important to her. But being sensitive may not be her strongest suit. Like I'm sure she has feelings and sensitivities. With her moon is in Sag, so probably not. Yeah, she may not be the most sensitive person. No. And then she's brash. She has feelings, but she's not like the most sympathetic. Like she's going to tell you how it is. And yeah, she's not the strongest in the sensitivity area. And then with fire, even though she has these ideas and she needs stability, she may not be like that go-getter, which kind of makes sense. She takes a long time between albums. She takes her time, she's not going to be rushing out there for each new album. Like she probably wants it out, but it's like when she's ready, like she's not going to push herself like and rush if it's not to her standards. And if it's not ready for her standards, which may be very high standards. I mean, look what she's achieved. Like every album she's come out with, almost every album is like a global hit. Like I don't think she's ever failed in her career. I hope it continues on that trend. I think it will. But I don't know if there's any other artists like Adele where every album she comes out with is like a phenomenon. Like literally like. Oh,
it's a phenomenon in and of itself. Like she comes out with music for the times. And of course, I just want to point out, a lot of people, link Jupiter to fame, and her Jupiter's in a good position. In whole signs, it's in the 11th house. So she's very popular. She's very much, she feels like a friend when she writes her music and whenever she releases things. It's next to her sun. And, the sun sort of overwhelms whatever sign is near it. Mm-hmm. But with Jupiter, there's a sort of mutual, like not mutual receptivity, because that's an actual thing in astrology, but they sort of support each other. You know what I'm saying? Jupiter gives you the luck. The sun pushes you forward. In the 11th house, it sort of propels you. And I think it's a great sign, especially in a stable house like Taurus, for someone to have stable wealth, fame, etc., especially through putting themselves out there, putting their talents out there. But what we really want to pay attention to, and anyone making music, where is Neptune? What is Neptune doing? Mm-hmm. Neptune is retrograde. A retrograde planet is, it looks like it's going backwards in the sky, but what it's actually doing, it's moving much closer to the earth. It's moving in a pattern that is much closer to the earth, so its force is felt twice as strong. And where is the house that rules Neptune? The 12th house. The 12th house is represented by Gemini on her chart, and Gemini is full of very personal planets, and Chiron, the wounded healer. Yeah. So she is going to express her life through this Chiron energy of trying to heal herself, heal her wounds, literally heal her wounds, because it's in the house of healing, through the things that she does in the 12th house, and whatever sort of things that she communicates through Gemini, which would be her music. And then we go right to the North Node. And of course, because the Neptune coincidences aren't enough, the North Node is Pisces. Yeah. So if you want to know why she's famous, she's got North Node in Pisces in the 9th house, meaning that she must leave her lands, express herself, share her philosophy in order to be, fully expressing herself in this lifetime. And so she is living up to all of what her chart is asking her to do, put yourself out there. But why does it take her so long to write an album? Because Saturn, the ruler of time, is in a very close moment between the 6th and the 7th house. So she's got a little bit of the influence, and even in the Placidus chart is actually in the 6th house. Yeah. So the ruler of time is really telling her to take her time to do everything, to take it easy on me as I release this new album. It's been 5+ years. Please take it easy on me, and then also communicating what we're kind of all going through. Whether you're leaving your job, leaving your relationship, going into new job, going into new relationship, we're all having to learn what it's like to live through this new light lens of the panorama, and just trying to experience life under such restrictions, under so many new experiences, having so much death around us, 12th house of death. There might be some conversations in her album about, whether a relationship is dying, whether a physical death of someone that you love and what the experience is like. She might be the greatest communicator of that because of her strong 12th house. And just going along in terms of what she is experiencing and how it can help us, not just as, a nation or whatever, as the world heals. Every time she brings out an album, it's literally healing the world, and that healing energy is connected to the fact that Uranus, the moon, and her Saturn are in the 6th house in the Placidus. So, what is she providing for us? She's providing healing communication through her 12th house with Mercury and Gemini strongly. She's providing healing to us as a whole from what she has experienced. And, the motivations that she has with her Mars in the 9th house are all about how she can help heal the world. It's connected to the soul of the world. It's connected to what she is providing to us, and what she is communicating to us. So she's very motivated because she knows how much her platform affects us, how much her platform can change and transform relationships and lives, and maybe even how women think of themselves within relationships. So, I really admire her for that. It's really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. There's such a focus in her chart on Pisces and the 10th house, and being able to show, her creativity and her emotion to the world on the public sphere. So her North Node is there. And then her midheaven, which midheaven represents the ideal career, is in Pisces. So her soul purpose and her career or ideal career are aligned, which is nice because not everybody has that. Some people have an ideal career that they're a good fit for, and then their soul purpose might be something else different entirely, or their soul purpose may have to do with another area of life that doesn't involve, career. But in her case, it does. It's very aligned. And then the eclipse that happened, the last eclipse that happened before she was born in 1988 was in 27 degrees Pisces. So, the sign where that, the sign and house where that prenatal eclipse, as it's called, falls into your chart represents an area of life that takes such prominence. And so the prenatal eclipse that she had was in 27 degrees Pisces, and that lands in her 10th house. So there's just multiple signs that are showing that she is meant to share her creativity and her emotion to the world. And I guess, she probably takes that more seriously than maybe what she lets on and what the typical person knows. And that's, like you said, Stella, that's probably why she takes so long and why she's so effective. And when she comes out with something, it's just like, it's always a success. And it's like, it just like moves humanity forward when she comes out with somebody with an album. It's like, it doesn't matter what genre of music you're into, where you're from, Adele just is so relatable to everybody regardless. And there's not many artists, and especially not now, that can do that in the way that Adele has been doing that over and over again since she was in her early 20s.
They all have to rely on their bodies. They have to rely on surgery. They have to rely on exciting lyrics or shocking sort of revelations. She is here to heal us through music. All she has to do is write. She doesn't have to do. That's why you've always seen her. She just wears a black dress. She gets in front of a microphone and she changes the world. Like, that is power. You can tell me a million times that there are great artists all over the world. They're doing great things. They're wonderful, but they're not transformational. They're not going to be remembered in 50 years. People aren't going to be like, oh, pass me that CD by Adele. You know what I mean? Or well, at that point, pass me the download the track on my hand phone, literal a hand phone, right? I don't know what the world is gonna look like in 50 years. But literally, like, are you as an artist, and I would ask this to anyone making music, are you as an artist contributing to the future of our society? Or are you just making noise? And so many people today are just making noise. It is like for a Scorpio moon, Pisces, or not Pisces rising, I'm on Pisces rising, Virgo rising, everything is about depth for me. And I'm like, like, as much as I'm deep in these conversations we have, you can only imagine what's going on in my mind. So I'm always looking for artists like Adele who take the conversation beyond the surface. And there are very few. And once you meet one, they sort of change. That's something that I love about Adele. She has not changed, and not in that bad way, like, oh, she's not evolving. No, she's evolving as a human being, but she's not willing to compromise her identity, her privacy, herself as a human being, in order to fulfill the role that society thinks that she as a female artist should play. She has her stuff together. She knows what she wants. That strong, the strong Lilith in Virgo, in Leo,
right? Yeah.
That she's like, I don't care what anybody says. My rebellion is to be exactly who I am. And I don't care what you think. And I'm not going to sing to entertain you. I'm going to sing to heal the world. I'm going to write music to heal this generation, so that they have something more than the surface level BS that every other artist thinks is music. No offense to all the musicians in the world. Your music is beautiful no matter what, but we all have to admit, are you making music or are you making noise? And many people out there are just making noise. They're just doing it for attention. They're just doing it for the clout. And, even in some areas, like there are some artists coming out that are challenging the female archetype. Beautiful. Keep doing it. This is our new form of rebellion. But if it's just about the same conversation that every other artist is having about sex, about this, about that, I'm not a conservative by any means, but where are you taking us as a species? Like, please give us some depth. Have somebody talk about the plight of the poor. Have someone talk about the issues of our day, of our love lives, like Adele talks about every day. Now, I'm going on a rant, but it's all for the point that Adele really connects to us. And she asks us deep questions about what we're going through in our relationship. And then she takes us through her experiences. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to witness that in her artistry. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking about her Lilith that you mentioned in Leo, that also provides balance to her seesaw, now that I'm seeing, right? Because she has that juxtaposition of like, do I do things for myself, and am I true to myself, and who am I really versus what do others expect of me? And like another tiebreaker is her Lilith in Leo. So if her Lilith in Leo is all about, I'm going to do things my way, like hear me roar, then that is kind of what she needs to do to provide that balance. So it kind of feel like regardless of the seesaw, it seems like what she wants to do always wins out, but I guess in a way that's healthy, or not as bad as it seems. It's not like she's self-centered per se, but she's going to choose herself first. And she knows that choosing herself benefits everybody else in the end, opposed to like, sorry to say, as opposed to like a Britney Spears that gave herself away for so many years for her family, for other people. And now is kind of coming out of it, but has some arrested development and, is now doing the healing process. I guess Adele has never really had to do that, because from early on, she's been like, no, like, yes, I have these conflicting areas of my life, what I want and what others expect, but like, I need to choose myself every time, because that's what benefits everybody. Right.
And that's what saved her from the plight of so many singers who have experienced abuse, so many singers who have, encountered some, very interesting circumstances, let's call them, with producers, where they felt they've compromised themselves as a human being in order to fulfill a role. And then no wonder we can't connect on a deeper level, because the healing that needs to happen from the sexual misconduct to the conversations and condescension that they experience because they're a female. You know what I mean? She takes her power back every time because it's in Leo, and Leo is uncompromising. You know, Leo, for as much as I love my Leo relatives, I know that their way is the only way.
Yeah, but they're so good about it. They're so good about getting that. They're so good about steering that ship for everything to go their way, as opposed to like, as opposed to other like stubborn signs like Sagittarius or like Taurus that are very opinionated. Leos have a way of like having things go their way, but you don't even realize it's happening because they're so charming. But yeah, at the end of the day, Leos, they want to be center stage. It's about them. Like, it's about what they have to share. It's about expressing themselves. You know, it's about all of those things. So yeah, it seems like Adele has been doing a pretty good job, you know, despite the challenges of balancing her seesaw. But let's take it to her love life. Like, I wonder what kind of guy would be the right fit for her. You know, she was married and in a relationship for quite some years with the father of her child, Simon Konecki. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's works in the charity world in philanthropy. And now she's dating a sports agent. I think his name is richpaul or Rick Paul. I apologize. And she seems really happy with her new boyfriend. So she's definitely like a relationship gal. I get the sense like she has Cancer and Capricorn across her chart, you know, connecting the first and seventh houses. So she's a relationship gal, I feel. And I mean, for all her, you know, strong opinions, strong communication style, lack of sensitivity, perhaps, at the end of the day, she likes being in relationships, you know, but she'll choose herself, or she's learning how to do that more. And one of the pitfalls might be that she might stay in relationships for too long. Like, she's kind of that committed type. And I guess she realized that with her ex, like with her husband. And she realized that, you know, for the betterment of everybody, even though it didn't look like the greatest decision, or not everybody would agree, she had to leave it. But as I do with most people, when it comes to love, I'm looking at Adele's Juno and her Venus to see, could this cause, you know, a disconnect with what she is attracted to and what is actually good for her for a long-term relationship. So Venus, the planet of love, is in Gemini in the 12th house. So, you know, Stella, you mentioned before, with Venus being in Gemini, you know, Adele probably needs somebody she can have like a really good banter with, really good like conversation, intellectual connection. With Venus being in Gemini, you know, she might be drawn to people that are interested in different kind of things, you know, that, you know, have different things going on, that are unique in some sort of way, perhaps, or just have multiple hobbies. Lots of hobbies. That's a good way to put it. And with Venus being in the 12th house, I'm assuming she's probably connected to somebody that also has like a bit of sensitivity, maybe somebody that she can bond with, that she can give to, or is very giving to her. Those are some ways that I would interpret it. I'm not a huge fan of Venus in Gemini. I guess I am biased. I think because people that have Venus in Gemini tend to be fickle with how they love. Because Gemini is like, I think so. I could be wrong, right? But that's like my interpretation. Because when I've seen him, I want to say
that I have my Venus in Gemini and it is conjunct Mercury. I feel personally slighted. But yes, we are fickle. We don't take it seriously. You're absolutely right. I thought every boy was a joke for such a long time, and or I attracted people that were not serious.
Yeah, so I can see that happening. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I can see that happening with somebody that has a Venus Gemini placement. Either they don't take it serious, or like that those they attract have qualities that they like having different hobbies, you know, having different opinions, liking to be social and talk to different people, but may also have the trait of like not taking things seriously, not being sure, because Geminis are kind of similar to Libras in that, you know, they're air signs, you know, they're kind of thinking, oh, it could be this one day, it could be that this other day. And it's in the 12th, but then she's also drawn to people that are like sensitive. But what's actually a good fit for her is where Juno is at. And that's in Taurus in the 11th house. So what's good for her for a long-term relationship is somebody that's very sure of what they want, like very dependable, very reliable, good with their money, very secure, those Taurus traits. And then with it being in the 11th house, she might, she probably needs like a strong friendship bond to form the foundation for a relationship. She might end up, and this is what's happening with her right now. The guy that she's dating, the sports agent, I'm going to Google it now because I want to make sure that I get his name.
How do you pronounce his name?
I kind of feel, I got to get it together. I feel like this journey from her ex Simon to her now boyfriend is showing this journey of transitioning from going to what you're normally attracted to going to like transitioning to what is actually good for you. And perhaps she's learned these things through Rich Paul. Okay, so that's his name. He's cute too. Rich Paul. His name's Rich. And he's probably a Taurus. Like, that's just like, I haven't looked up his chart, but
I'm gonna throw it out there. Well, especially since he has a very strong, I mean, if he's a sports manager, he has some sort of either law degree or experience in contracts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, some sort of litigious. And she's got Mars in the 8th house and whole signs. So, how she receives love is someone who is more, strong, focused, opinionated, willing to, sacrifice for others, friendly, above everything. And, friendship, I would say friendship is a very strong motivator for her in her love life now, as opposed to before. She might have just wanted the guy who was, kind to her or whatever, or the person who showed her affection was enough, because that's something else that happens with Venus in Gemini is that, there's not a sense of settling, but you sort of kind of see like, oh, this guy's nice. Why not? Why shouldn't I? Like, whatever. But then you realize at some point in your evolution that you can't just take the nice guy. Sometimes the one who's willing to be there for you is better than the nice guy, because you shouldn't have someone who just placates to, your positive emotions. You should have someone who's honest with you. And that's a lesson that happens when Venus is in Gemini. And then, of course, with Saturn in the 7th house, the lessons come from relationships. So every single person that you encounter in terms of your relationship and your love life is a person is going to bring you a lesson, and it's connected to Uranus. So it's going to be a wild card. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be exciting. It could be boring. But it's never dull. You know what I'm saying? Not like it could be boring. It's never dull. It's like, it could be anything. It could be a roulette of possibilities when it comes to your love life, but you're meant to connect with it. And what I really want to point out that goes back to that, Venus in Gemini analysis that I just said about being sort of unable to distinguish things. She also has Neptune, the great distractor, in her 7th house. So that's something that even in Capricorn, where it kind of is like washed out, like it's not as strong. Even in Capricorn, Neptune is a very strong force for distraction in love. So it could mean that you lean in and you connect with men or women that are not necessarily right for you, or rather that are illusionists, like they show you one thing, but they're another, especially that it's opposite your 1st house. So they're giving you one thing, but once you actually meet them on their level, you're going to find a whole other person, so it might have been that she was totally happy with her ex at a certain level. And then the child came along, being that Neptune is square Pluto, the child came along and created some sort of power dynamic between him and the baby that she wasn't able to sort of not control, but sort of like bring a peace to. She's not ever going to really bring a peace to her child rearing and her relationships unless she really finds someone and connects with someone who accepts her child first, who understands that children come first, period. And that's why it's always good to attract a Taurus, because Taurus are family men. They're especially if they have Capricorn in their charts in a strong way, Capricorn rising, moon, Venus, etc. They're going to be really great for her in her relationship. So that's the type of man I think that would be great for someone who has Taurus in his chart, someone who has a strong Capricorn, who can give her the stability that she needs, and, let the words fall off their back, because Capricorns don't take things to their heart as much as other signs. Like if you're with a sensitive Libra, or you're with a really sensitive Pisces, like it might not work out for you.
No.
If you have Venus in Gemini and Mercury in Gemini, or any strong Gemini, like Gemini and Pisces to me is like you're in a square, man. Like squares are not easy.
No, it's not. It's not good news at all.
Get away, or you're going to end up in a situation where, like, you're breaking up, you're heartbreak, or they're just too sensitive.
Yeah.
Pisces and Gemini, like, butt heads all the time. The two, Pisces is way too sensitive. Gemini is way too brash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this journey from Venus to Juno, maybe, Adele has been learning it because maybe she does have an astrologer behind the scenes, or, through therapy. But I kind of noticed it from a recent article I read where she was interviewed, and she mentioned how much she's loving her new relationship with this sports agent, richpaul. They were friends for quite some time before deciding to date. So right there, that's so great. Juno in the 11th. And then she mentioned that he seems to know what he wants, and that's where she's at. Like, she knows what she wants and she knows what she doesn't want. And she kind of alluded to how before in relationships, she would be with guys that kind of weren't sure, like kind of were back and forth. And so she probably experienced a lot of that in her younger years, but was drawn to those people because they might have seemed interesting, or they seemed really eclectic and interested in different things, and were probably really nice. And then she probably realized as she was coming into her own that she needs somebody that, she can have a foundation with. Like, maybe it's not going to be the guy that she first falls head over heels for, but it'll be the guy that was in her life for a few years and was a friend. And then she realizes, oh, wow, this is a good guy. Like, let me date him. And now look how happy she is with her new boyfriend, and they have that foundation of friendship, and he seems very sure about what he wants. Who knows what the future holds for this relationship, but it seems like there's a different feel to this relationship compared to what she has had in the past. So this does show that she is growing in the right direction with how she approaches relationships and who she chooses to be in relationship with.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate, most of her music has been about miscommunication and love. Like, period. That's all she's written about. Miscommunication and love. Say hello to your new lover. Hello, how are you? I'm trying to think of another one. Fire to the rain. Angry about a breakup or about misunderstanding and love. So, she's had a good one, but now she's matured. She's gotten past her Saturn return. She's realized her value. Second house, Lilith. She's realized all of the lessons that Saturn has had for her, and she's finally come through her first Saturn return, and hopefully one of three at least, right? We all want at least three. And you're able to enjoy your life now. And now Saturn is giving you the lessons of the 8th house, how the litigiousness, the depth that you're going to have to go through, the questions you're going to have to uncover and heal about yourself, and healing your wounds, and then as she goes on, Saturn is going to move into into Pisces, and then it's going to trigger her North Node, which is probably going to be pinnacle of her career in about 6 or 7 years, whether it's like a lifetime achievement award or some sort of, Hollywood star. I don't know if she already has one, but some sort of recognition in her career is coming in about 6 years once Saturn is in Pisces. So, those types of experiences are going to muster up some great times for her in the future. Her love life might change as Jupiter enters into the 9th house and leaves Saturn behind. Of course, she's already in a relationship, but maybe now she'll be in a more committed relationship than she was before. Somewhere where that's lasting. And I always say, like, once you figure out what's wrong in your chart, or rather in your life, in terms of how you want to approach love, you can truly attract the right person to yourself. But first you have to do the self-work, and she did the work. She transformed her body, she's transforming her mind, and now her music is going to show us some of that transformation, which I'm super excited about hearing all about all of the experiences she's had, through the panorama, through all of these difficult times that we've all been going through mutually, however we've been experiencing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think this album will be a lot about transformation. I mean, these eclipses coming up, her album's kickstarting. It's like, she's like kickstarting these Taurus Scorpio eclipses. Like, forget what the astrologers are saying. Like, Adele's taking the wheel and being like, like, I'm kickstarting the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. And it's like,
I'm setting the tones, baby. I'm setting the tones.
She's not even an astrologer. She's setting the tone for astrologers everywhere. And, it's going to be going back and forth, between like her sun, her Pluto. So it's going to be a time, there's more transformation to come for her. The 30 album, it's going to be all about transformation, I think, but we'll see. Let's see if we're right or wrong when the album is released on November 19th. Yeah, and it's interesting to know that this is kind of the beginning of her new era. Let's, wonder where she'll be at by the time these Taurus Scorpio eclipses end in 2023. What happens 6 years from now when she hits the pinnacle of her career? What does that look like? Is it a lifetime achievement award? What else is it? And then I think when it comes to her relationships, she definitely is a relationship girl. So that's what she wants. She's learning more about how that could work for her and her own individual needs. And the only thing she'll need to worry about is, she has pretty good Juno aspects, except for Mars being square Juno and Pallas being square Juno. So Mars is a planet of action. Pallas Athene is the asteroid of creativity. So with that, potential pitfalls is that she might enter power conflicts, like sometimes be overtaken in relationships. I don't think that's happening much these days. She probably got past that. And then with Pallas Athene square Juno, she might have a hard time balancing, kind of what you were alluding to before, balancing, creativity with relationship, or children with relationship, like fifth house sort of areas, maybe. So she needs to be with somebody that's going to let her do what she does and not get in the way of her success and not get in the way of her expressing her creativity. And I think her current boyfriend might be able to do that. He's not a singer, but he's in the entertainment world in a sense. He's a sports agent. He works with professional athletes. So he knows what it's like to not have the typical life. And also he's not in her world either. So it's not like they're going to be competing singers. Like, he gets it, but he's not in it. So Adele can just do her thing. And perhaps her new boyfriend is, will eventually, if not already, be more integrated into her child's life. I think that'll be very important for her, like you mentioned. And also because of the fact that the asteroid of mothering, Ceres, the asteroid of nurturing, is in positive aspect to Juno. So she is able to integrate children. Sorry. Oh, I missed what you said.
Your fingers that it'll work out.
Yeah, that'll be important for her, because I think she's able to integrate children very well in a relationship, but she will also need to be with somebody that can be about that too, can get with the program, because that's what Adele's about. And if you can't get with Adele's program, you're out. Nowadays, Adele's not putting up with much. She knows what she wants and she knows what she doesn't want. So you're either in or you're out. And that's just the way it is in Adele's world. And we're just all living in it, like waiting to hear the next song that she has out.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear the whole album. But I would say one advice for any man out there with a woman like Adele, who's strong and independent and knows what she wants, get out of her way or be her partner in crime. She will support you through anything. That's the type of woman that will help a man propel himself to success. Really support him in his success. But it also comes with the caveat that she needs to be successful too. And this is the modern day female archetype that we're all striving to be as females, and that each and every single one of us is looking up to, because she's uncompromising in her sexuality, she's uncompromising in herself, in what she expresses, and she is strong and independent in her expression. So, what we're all striving to be in the Aquarian age, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very exciting times,
Yeah,
very exciting times.
I think she's a relationship girl, but it's got to be in Adele's way. And she probably you bring up a good point. She brings up so much to a relationship. And she's such a unique person. She, such a great figure. So yeah, like you better be a strong man and come with all these great qualities to even be considered by her. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with her current relationship. It seems like a good match so far, but time will tell. These eclipses will
tell. These eclipses will tell us. I know that eclipses always support in terms of your relationship. I think I had eclipses in Capricorn and Cancer help me in my relationship. So, it can always work, ladies.
Yeah, we'll see.
Pay attention to those eclipses.
My north and south nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio. So these eclipses, I'm just like, I'm ready, but I'm not ready. Like, it's like my life may totally transform by the time 2023 comes about. So it'll be interesting to see how it is. But yeah, that's the insights we have for Adele. Like, she is the woman of the moment, and she is the past eclipses personified. She is the Sagittarius Gemini eclipses personified, and she is the Taurus Scorpio eclipses to come personified. So yeah, thanks for listening. We'll have more celeb episodes coming up. Stella, do you have any last words, any last piece of advice that people can consider before we wrap up?
Last piece of advice. The last piece of advice I have in anything when it comes to love is to heal yourself first. And Adele had to heal herself.
Yeah.
And her ending her relationship was a part of that healing. And sometimes, especially Chiron in the 12th house representing that ending healing, right? Endings bring healing to Adele. So that aspect is very important to her. But in all of our charts, we all have Chiron. Look at the position of Chiron in your chart. And that's where you will find the key to unlocking the problems, the holdups, the setbacks, all of the issues that you're having. That's where your who you are and who you are becoming are situated. So pay attention to Chiron. Look up what's important in that sign that it's placed, in the house that it's placed, how it's interpreted, so you can understand yourself better. And if you need a reading and you would like us to interpret it and help you understand your whole chart, you can, go ahead and reach out to either of us. We're happy to read your charts and to understand and help you understand better what your motivations are through Mars, what your healing and holdups are through Chiron and Pluto, and most importantly, where you would like to go in your love life, from all the aspects that we mentioned about Adele. So.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add to that. That was so well said. And yeah, Adele's a case in point of how healing can bring, better relationships. And, that's kind of the energy of the moment. And, that might be what some people encounter with these eclipses coming up, depending on where it falls in their chart. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was nice to, do it and have you listen and watch however you view this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, etc. And we have more to come. So definitely stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe so you can be informed of when new episodes come out. Feel free to leave a comment. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our findings on Adele, or, anything that you've learned about your chart or about love, or any questions that you might have. So more information about where you can find us is below. If you want to submit a viewer question, the link is below as well. And feel free to leave your comments, your likes, and subscribe. So peace out. Yeah. Bye for now.
Bye for now.